At 3 a.m., my phone lit up with a message from my father-in-law. Frank, we know you spent $570,900 to save our company, but we don't want you at the company's investors' party. I stared at the screen, my jaw tightening. No, thank you. No acknowledgement that without my money, their little empire, Hastings Logistics, would have been dust 6 months ago. Just don't come. I typed one word back. Noted. And that was it. No exclamation marks. No emotion. Because the truth? I wasn't surprised anymore. For the past year, my wife Madison had been dripping poison into my life drop by drop. Passive-aggressive jabs, empty promises, and this new, slippery evasiveness that made my gut itch. This text from her father was just the final, rotten cherry on the pile. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling while Madison slept beside me, curled up like a saint in her silk pajamas. She always smelled like expensive perfume lately, even when she came home, straight from work. My mind kept replaying the math, $500,000 to her family's business, while she'd been colder to me than January wind. No gratitude, no warmth, just distance. I reached for my phone again, scrolling through the messages between us from the past month. Her replies were shorter than before. Busy at work. Long meeting. Having drinks with the girls. And then nothing for hours. And here's the kicker. 2 weeks ago, I noticed she'd changed her phone's lock code. Madison, the woman who used to toss her phone on the kitchen counter without a thought, now kept it face down, clutched like a lifeline. I didn't say anything at the time. I told myself I wasn't that guy. But at 3 a.m., lying there with her father's text still burning on my screen, I realized I was that guy now. The one who had a gnawing suspicion chewing a hole in his chest. The one whose life was about to split in two. The house was silent, except for the faint hum of the fridge downstairs. Madison's breathing was slow and steady, too steady. I swear there was a moment, right before I got up, when I thought she knew I was awake. I padded to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of whiskey, and stared out the window at the dark street. My mind started piecing together every odd moment from the past few months. The business trips that never had receipts. The sudden obsession with going to the gym, even though she hated sweating. The way she'd touch her hair when a certain coworker texted. It wasn't proof yet, but it was a smell. Like gas leaking from somewhere you couldn't see. That's when I decided something. I wasn't going to confront her with just suspicion. I was going to find the truth, the whole damn thing, no matter how ugly it was. And deep down, I already knew it was going to be very ugly. That night, as I went back upstairs and slipped into bed, Madison shifted slightly, murmured something half asleep, and rested her hand on my chest. Her touch felt foreign, like it belonged to a stranger. And I thought, if you knew what I was about to do, you'd take that hand back so fast. I didn't know it yet, but within 72 hours, I'd have every answer. And Madison? She'd show me just how low a person could go. Name's Jake. I didn't sleep after that 3 a.m. noted. I lay there counting the beats between Madison's breaths and the lies between her texts. By 6, I'd made coffee the color of motor oil and a plan that felt like a seatbelt in a rollover. Flimsy, but better than nothing. First move patterns. Madison liked routines until she didn't, so the sudden gym craze was my first thread to tug. I checked our shared credit card, the one she hadn't convinced me to cancel, and pulled up charges. Crunch Fitness at 5:41 p.m., 3 times a week. But there were other hits. Lyft rides ending at the Asteria Hotel, room service charges at weird hours, and a bar called Blue Finch in Midtown she'd sworn she hated because it's too loud. Loud works when you want to disappear. Second move, names. I scrolled her Instagram from my laptop. Not hers. She'd turned her phone into Fort Knox. Liked by list was a carousel of coworkers I'd never met, because her family preferred I be the invisible ATM. A guy named Brandon Keller popped up a lot. Brandon, the accounts manager with the teethy grin and marathon bibs. Madison had said he was annoying but useful. Funny how annoying guys become convenient shadows. Third move, accident. At 9 a.m., our neighbor Emily Carter knocked to borrow sugar. She's chatty, sweet, The kind who notices trash pickup schedules and shoes you don't usually wear. Madison looked so cute leaving at dawn, she chirped, glancing at my face. Red dress? Said she had breakfast with an investor. Good for her. My coffee tasted like coins. Yeah, I said. Good for her. Fourth move, evidence. When Madison showered, she left her tote bag by the vanity. She never did that before. The zipper had a thread stuck. Pulled it. The bag opened like a mouth. Inside, a hotel keycard sleeve from Asteria, lip balm, gum, a folded receipt. The receipt was the kind that prints your shame in black and white. 2 cocktails. 1 Caesar salad, 1 steak, 1 late-night amenity. Room 1017. I made myself read it twice, like that might make it untrue. Then the universe delivered me a slab of undeniable. At 10:13, my phone pinged with a shared Apple Calendar update I'd forgotten existed from back when we were actually a team. Blue Finch drinks with B. She'd hidden most events, but this one slipped through like a guilty shrug. Sudden event number 1, my bank called. Mr. Nolan, there was an attempt to charge $4,800 at Asteria Hotel on your card ending in 3321. My card. Not our card. Mine. Decline it, I said, calm as a morgue. And freeze anything over 100 unless I approve. As I hung up, I realized she was bold enough to try my card for their room. That felt less like cheating and more like vandalism. Sudden event number 2. Frank called. The father-in-law who'd exiled me from the investor party now sounded falsely warm. Jake, buddy, don't take that text personally. Optics. I stared out the window at the rain. Optics like your daughter using my card for hotel fun? Silence. A breath. You must be mistaken. Classic Frank. Gaslight first, ask later. I said nothing. He filled the silence with nervous chuckles and hung up. I needed eyes, so I went old school. I drove to Blue Finch at 4:30 and sat at the bar under a dead neon sign. The bartender, Tyler, wore a baseball cap and an expression like he's seen people at their worst and stopped being surprised. You look like a guy waiting to be disappointed, he said, setting down water without me asking. Big night later. Corporate crowd. Lotta suits. Lotta lies. I gave him a 20. Ever see a brunette in a red dress with a guy who laughs too loud? He smirked. Sir, that's half my clientele. At 5:12, Madison walked in wearing that red dress. She didn't see me. My cap, corner seat, and her tunnel vision kept me invisible. 2 minutes later, Brandon slid in beside her. I watched his hand brush her lower back like it belonged there. She laughed the laugh she used to save for me, the one that knocked me stupid on our first date. My palms went cold. They ordered 2 old fashions. Brandon touched her phone, and she didn't flinch. They looked like a couple who'd rehearsed. She leaned in, said something, and he kissed her like a man cashing a check. Sudden event number 3. My phone vibrated. Emily again. Weird question. Did Madison mean to drop this scarf? Found it outside your door. A red silk scarf. I glanced at Madison. She had a matching strip tied to her wrist like a trophy. Hold on to it, I texted. Evidence. I didn't mean to send that last word. I didn't delete it either. I stood up, heart punching my ribs, and walked out before they could notice me and spin a new fairy tale. I needed a plan, not a scene. In the rain, I sat in my car and stared at my shaking hands. I'd just seen it. No wiggle room. No, maybe I misunderstood. The truth wasn't a rumor. It had a face, a bar tab, and a room number. The worst part wasn't the kiss. It was how comfortable they were. Sudden event number 4 hit as thunder cracked. A lift receipt popped up on our shared email. Pick up Blue Finch, drop off Asteria Hotel, room 1017. Scheduled. Precise. Like a calendar invite. Fine. If they wanted a schedule, I'd pencil myself by the time I got home that night. The rain had stopped, but my rage hadn't. I sat in my truck outside the house for 15 minutes, staring at the porch light Madison had left on for herself, as if she was the returning hero in some romantic movie. I just watched her climb into a lift with Brandon like it was their house she was headed to. Every part of me wanted to follow that car, to crash through the Asteria lobby and drag her out in front of the desk clerk. But the smarter part, the colder, surgical part, knew I needed her lies documented. Let her hang herself with her own words. She came home after midnight, smelling like whiskey and someone else's cologne. Her hair was messy in that, I wanted to look effortless way, but it was too perfect to be an accident. She saw me on the couch and froze. "Hey," she said, voice sugary. "You're up late." I just looked at her. "How was your girls' night?" She blinked. "Oh, good. We went to Blue Finch, but you know how loud it is there, so." I cut her off. "Yeah, I was there too." The color drained from her face like a sink emptying. "What?" "I was there," I repeated. "Saw you. Saw him. Saw the kiss. And I know about Asteria, room 1017. Scheduled even." She let out a short, fake laugh. "Jake, come on. Brandon? He's going through a divorce." I was comforting him. "Comforting him?" My voice went flat. "With your lips." Her smile twitched. "You're blowing this way out of proportion." "Out of proportion?" I leaned forward. "You've been disappearing for weeks, changing your passcodes, charging hotel rooms on my card, and you think I'm overreacting?" She crossed her arms, shifting into her defensive queen stance. "You've been distant for months. You care more about money than me. Maybe if you paid attention instead of obsessing over bills and business." There it was, the pivot. Turn her cheating into my fault. I didn't raise my voice. "I paid $570,900 to save your family's business. And your father repays me by telling me I'm not welcome at the party. At 3 a.m. She rolled her eyes. "That's business politics, Jake. You wouldn't understand." "Business politics?" I snapped. "Madison, it's my money. Without it, your father's company would be a memory. But you all treat me like I'm the help. And now you're screwing your coworker in hotel rooms on my dime." Her eyes hardened. "Watch your mouth." "Why?" I asked. "You don't like hearing the truth out loud?" Silence. A muscle in her jaw twitched. Then she went for the nuclear button. "Maybe I wouldn't have to look elsewhere if you weren't so boring." I swear, that sentence cut deeper than anything else. Not because it was true, it wasn't, but because she wanted it to wound. Madison wasn't stumbling through excuses now. She was attacking. I stood, my hands trembling. Not from fear, but from the sheer force it took to keep them at my sides. "I'm going to bed. Alone. Tomorrow we talk about next steps. And you're not touching my accounts again." She scoffed, tossing her purse onto the counter. "Don't threaten me with your big dramatic ultimatums. You'll calm down. You always do." I didn't reply, because for the first time in our marriage, she was wrong. When I closed the bedroom door, I heard her on the phone, voice low but sharp, probably to Brandon, probably telling him some warped version of this scene. I lay in the dark and thought about that father-in-law text, about how they'd all taken me for granted. They thought I'd calm down. They thought I'd swallow it. They thought wrong. Tomorrow wasn't going to be a conversation. It was going to be a reckoning. I woke up feeling like I'd swallowed gravel. The house had that hungover quiet, the kind that follows a storm. Madison was already up, clattering pans like percussion, loud on purpose. I checked my phone. 3 missed calls from Frank. 1 text from an unknown number reading, "We should talk. B. Brandon." Bold move, messaging the husband. First order of business. Shut the doors. I froze joint accounts, moved my savings to a new bank, and set alerts on every card. I called Rachel Miller, a no-nonsense attorney a friend had recommended when his brother went through a fire of his own. "Bring facts, not feelings," she said. "Screenshots, statements, any proof of misuse. And stop talking to her without a plan. Facts, not feelings." I wrote it on a sticky note and stuck it to my chest, like body armor. I walked into the kitchen. Madison stood there with a spatula and a smile that could slice fruit. "Making pancakes," she chirped. "Because last night was dramatic." She tilted her head. "We both said things we didn't mean." "Which part didn't you mean?" I asked. "The kiss? The hotel? Or telling me I'm boring?" I roll. Jake, you saw a moment and made a movie. You always do that. Build some grand story where you're the martyr and I'm the villain. The way she said villain sounded rehearsed. Okay, I said flat. Let's do facts. I put down the hotel receipt, the lift itinerary, the bar tab. And here's my bank's fraud alert for a $4,800 attempt at hysteria. That's not a moment. That's a pattern. She smirked, and I swear it was the ugliest she'd ever looked to me. You're really going to nickel and dime me after everything my family's done for you? For me? I laughed once, hard. I wired your father $570,900. For optics, he banned me from the investor party. For comfort, you booked a suite with Brandon. Enlighten me. What did you do for me? She went icy. Careful, Jake. You're spiraling. How is this going to look when we tell people you're paranoid and controlling? Sudden event number 5. My phone pinged. Emily, the neighbor, had sent a photo. Madison last week, at noon, in the red dress, getting into a rideshare with Brandon. Caption: didn't know you two were doing lunch dates now. Cute. The timestamp pinned it right through any alibi. Sudden event number 6. The doorbell. I opened it to find Frank on the porch, jaw tight, tie crooked. We're a family, he announced, stepping inside without asking. We resolve things privately. He looked at Madison, then me. This spectacle ends now. Spectacle? I said. Tell that to your 3 a.m. text. I pulled it up and held it out. He refused to read it. Of course. Madison folded her arms, queenly again. Dad, sit. Jake's feeling fragile. Fragile. There it was. They'd try to drown me in labels until I stopped thrashing. Frank, I said, did you know they tried to put a $4,800 hotel charge on my card? His eyebrow twitched. First honest thing his face had done all morning. I don't know anything about that, he said quickly, eyes flicking to Madison. She sighed theatrically. We hosted a client. Brandon reserved the room on the wrong card. Nothing happened. Client named old-fashioned with extra cherry? I asked. Client with a hand on your back? She glared. You're disgusting. No, I said. I'm awake. My voice surprised me, steady, level, almost detached. The sticky note on my chest was working. Sudden event number 7. Unknown number again. I answered. Jake? This is Tyler from Blue Finch, the bartender. You slipped me your card yesterday. Said to call if I heard anything. Your wife and that guy? They're regulars, man. Thursdays. Corner booth. Didn't want you blindsided. I thanked him, throat tight. I didn't look at Madison while he spoke. I watched Frank watching me, calculating. Madison hissed. You're embarrassing yourself, calling bartenders like some private eye. Last I checked, I said, bartenders see more truth than boardrooms. I set terms. Here's what happens today. You gather your things and give me space. No more charges to my accounts. We'll have a mediated conversation with my attorney on Tuesday. Until then, silence. She laughed. Glittering. You can't make me leave my house. I don't have to, I said, walking to the foyer. I opened the door and pointed at the world. But you will leave if you want a shot at keeping this civil. Frank stood, exhaling through his nose. Madison, let's go. Optics. She shot me a look that mixed hate and boredom, grabbed her purse, and swept out. The door clicked and the house finally exhaled. I sank onto the stairs and let the feelings land. Rage first like fire, then grief like cold water, then something stranger, relief. The truth, filthy as it was, had edges I could hold. Sudden event number 8. My lawyer texted. If you're ready, we can file a temporary financial restraining order today. Also, document everything. Start a log. Time, place, what was said. Facts, not feelings. I opened a new note and titled it The Day I Stopped Bleeding Quietly. And then I started writing. The silence after they left was so thick it felt like furniture. I just sat there on the stairs, staring at the door, replaying the scene in my head like a courtroom exhibit. Madison's smirk. Frank's optics. The bartender's voice confirming what my gut had been screaming for weeks. I wasn't tired. I was wired. My mind had shifted into a different gear, the one where emotions take a back seat and strategy grabs the wheel. If Madison thought I'd just stew in my own anger while she spun her victim narrative, she was already behind. I opened my laptop and pulled every bank statement, credit card bill, and joint account record for the past 12 months. Patterns jumped out like neon signs. Gym memberships she never used before. Restaurant charges that didn't match any night we'd been together. Rideshare trips starting from her office and ending nowhere near home. There was even a charge for a men's watch from a boutique I'd never set foot in. Brandon's, no doubt. Sudden event number 9. My phone buzzed with a text from Brandon himself. "Look, man. This is getting blown out of proportion. Madison told me you guys were basically done. I never meant to disrespect you." I stared at it for a full 30 seconds before replying, "Save your breath. My attorney will be in touch if I need anything from you." It took him less than a minute to respond. "Lawyer? Jesus, dude. No need to get ugly." Ugly. Like trying to run a $4,800 charge on my card wasn't ugly. Like sticking your tongue down my wife's throat in a bar you knew was 5 miles from our house wasn't ugly. I didn't answer. I screenshotted the whole exchange and dropped it into the growing folder on my desktop labeled Madison, Evidence. Then I called Rachel. She picked up on the second ring. "Tell me you've got something," she said. "I've got more than something. I've got enough to bury her credibility in wet cement." She paused. "Good. But remember, divorce isn't just about proving they cheated. It's about securing your position before they can drain anything else. Start locking down assets. I'll send a list." By noon, I'd frozen her access to my retirement accounts, moved my stocks into a trust under my name only, and set alerts on my credit file. If Madison wanted to keep playing games, she'd have to use her own chips. Sudden event number 10. Emily called. "Hey, just so you know, I saw Madison's car parked at Asteria today. Around 11. She wasn't alone. Didn't see him clearly, but it wasn't her dad." I closed my eyes, took a breath. "Thanks, Emily. Are you okay?" she asked. "I'm better than I was 3 days ago," I said, and realized it was true. The lies had lost their fog effect. Now they were just evidence. By 2 o'clock, Rachel's list had come through. Secure all financial accounts. Inventory shared property. Back up all electronic communication. Avoid direct arguments, everything in writing. Stay calm in public. They'll use every outburst against you. I added my own 6th item. Control the narrative before she does. Sudden event number 11 came faster than expected. My phone pinged with a screenshot from a mutual friend. Madison had posted on Instagram. "Some people can't handle a strong, independent woman. Sad when they make up lies to hide their own failures." Picture of her in that same red dress, smiling over a cocktail. I almost laughed. She was building the stage, dressing herself as the wronged heroine before the audience even knew the play had started. But that was fine because I wasn't planning to win this in the comments section. Instead, I drafted an email to her and CC'd Rachel. "Madison, per our discussion, please confirm you will vacate the property by 6 p.m. tomorrow so we can proceed with a mediated resolution. Any further charges to my accounts will be treated as fraud. All communication going forward will be through counsel." I hit send. Felt like sealing a door shut. By evening, I poured a glass of whiskey and sat on the porch, watching the streetlights come on. The rage was still there, but it had cooled into something heavier, something sharper. This wasn't about saving the marriage anymore. It was about salvaging my dignity and making sure the people who thought I'd roll over learned exactly how wrong they were. Somewhere out there, Madison was probably laughing at a bar, telling Brandon how she'd handled me. Let her laugh. She had no idea what was coming next. By the next morning, my head was clearer than it had been in months. There's a strange calm that comes after the worst punch. You've already hit the floor, so the only way is up. Madison still hadn't responded to my email, which meant one of two things. She was ignoring it, or she was cooking up her own little performance. Either way, I wasn't giving her the element of surprise. First order of the day: document the property. I walked through the house with my phone, recording every room, every piece of furniture, every expensive joint purchase she'd insisted on but never paid for. Madison loved designer, so I filmed the closet full of dresses, the handbags with price tags still dangling, the jewelry that seemed to multiply without explanation. I even filmed the garage with the SUV I'd bought her last year parked like a showroom prop. Sudden event number 12. While filming, I found a second phone in her gym bag. Black case, no lock screen. The wallpaper was a photo of her and Brandon. His hand on her waist, hers cupping his face. The timestamp was 2 months ago. On a weekend, she'd told me she was visiting her mother. My jaw tightened, but I didn't smash it. Instead, I powered it down, slid it into an evidence envelope, and tucked it into my desk. Rachel's voice echoed in my head. Facts, not feelings. At 11 a.m., I drove to her father's office. Frank's assistant, Laura, looked up, startled. "She's not here," she said, already defensive. "I'm not here for her," I replied. "I'm here for records. The $570,900 transfer I made to your company 6 months ago. I want a copy of where it went." Laura hesitated. "I'd need Frank's approval." "Then get it," I said, handing her my attorney's card. "Or we'll subpoena it." Sudden event number 13. As I walked back to my truck, Brandon came out of a coffee shop across the street. He froze when he saw me. "Jake, man." I didn't stop walking. "You've got 3 seconds to get out of my sight." Look," she said. "You two were basically 2 seconds." He shut his mouth and turned the other way. Back home, I forwarded Rachel a copy of Madison's second phone photos, the Lyft records, and the bank statements. She called within minutes. "Jake, you've got enough to file for divorce on grounds of adultery and financial misconduct. We can also file an emergency order to keep her from touching any marital assets until the case is resolved." "Do it," I said without hesitation. Sudden event number 14. Emily texted again. FYI, she just pulled up in a rental car. Didn't look happy. I didn't have to wait long. The front door slammed open, and Madison stormed in. "You froze my accounts? Are you out of your mind?" "Not at all," I said, staying seated. "I'm making sure you can't bill me for hotel suites and men's watches anymore." Her voice climbed. "You're humiliating me. Do you have any idea what people are saying?" "Probably the truth," I said. "Or do you mean the lies you're posting on Instagram?" She faltered just for a second, then regrouped. "You're pathetic, Jake." "No wonder." I cut her off. "Save it. Everything you say now is being documented for court. You might want to think about your optics." Her eyes narrowed at the word. "This isn't over." "You're right," I said. "It's just starting. And you're not going to like the ending." She stormed upstairs, slamming the bedroom door. I sat back, letting the adrenaline ebb. This wasn't about a confrontation anymore. This was a chess match, and I had her in check before she even realized the game had started. Tomorrow, Rachel would file the paperwork. By next week, Madison would be standing in front of a judge, stripped of the smirk she wore like armor. And me? I'd be standing there with every receipt, every timestamp, and every reason in the world to walk away clean. The investor's party gleamed like a lie you could drink. Crystal glasses, rented orchids, a jazz trio embalming the room in polite noise. I wasn't supposed to be there. Frank's 3 a.m. decree still sat in my screenshots, but rules bend when money moves, and Logan Pierce, a heavyweight investor I'd quietly looped in through Rachel, had added my name to his guest list. If Frank wanted optics, I brought a spotlight. I walked in wearing the only suit that still felt like mine and a face that had run out of apologies. Heads turned. A couple of board members, Gina Wallace, Tom Reed, murmured my name like it was a rumor smuggled through the coat check. Across the room, Madison clocked me mid-laugh, red dress blazing, Brandon glued to her side like a cheap cologne ad. Her smile froze, then reassembled into contempt. Sudden event number 15. Logan clinked a glass. "Before we toast," he said, "a quick acknowledgement. None of us would be standing here if Jake Nolan hadn't wired $570,900 to keep this ship afloat 6 months ago." The room rotated toward me. Frank's jaw tightened. Madison's eyes went needle-thin. I raised a hand. Not here for applause, I said. Just closure. Frank bulldozed forward, hand extended like a photo op. Jake, glad you could make it, he lied. Frank, I said, shaking it just long enough to prove I remembered manners. I didn't come to fight. I came to clarify. Sudden event number 16. Rachel stepped out from a cluster of suits, folder in hand, calm as a winter lake. We filed the financial restraining order at 3 p.m., she said softly. They've been served. As if on cue, a process server materialized like a magician's rabbit handing Frank papers. He took them like they were hot. Madison swept in, all venom and perfume. You're unbelievable, she hissed. Crashing a private event? Stalking me? This is harassment. Facts, not feelings, I said, nodding at Rachel. She opened the folder. Line items from the $570,900 infusion. Rachel announced to the small circle now forming. $40,000 allocated to a consulting firm called Keller Metrics LLC. Owner of record, Brandon Keller. Head swiveled to Brandon, whose grin evaporated. Another $21,000 in client hospitality at the Asteria Hotel, with repeated charges tied to the same two guests. She glanced at me. We have the room numbers. A crackle went through the group, the kind that starts polite and ends expensive. Frank's face went the color of raw salmon. This is a smear, he barked. Those expenses were approved. By whom? Logan asked, voice mild, interest predatory. Madison laughed, sharp, brittle. By the operations committee, she said. And none of it has anything to do with Jake's paranoia. Funny word, paranoia, I said. It sounds a lot like pattern when you get the receipts. Sudden event number 17. Tyler, the Blue Finch bartender, slid in at the edge of the circle. I'd invited him as a supplier, which technically he was. Sorry to interrupt, he said, lifting a hand. But if we're clarifying, these 2-inch, he nodded at Madison and Brandon, are Thursday regulars, corner booth, house old fashions and kiss caliber conversations. A couple of investors coughed into their drinks. Brandon reddened all the way to his hairline. Madison went full scorched earth. You pay bottom feeders now? Cute. Jake, you're a small man playing spy because you can't satisfy. She stopped herself, teeth flashing. You can't lead. My pulse jumped, but I didn't bite. I'm not the one billing trysts as client hospitality on an investor ledger. Sudden event number 18. Logan checked his phone, lifted his eyebrows. Frank, I'm seeing a provisional hold from our bank triggered by this restraining order, he said. Until reconciliation, all outgoing non-payroll expenses are frozen. He looked genuinely regretful and not at all sorry. We'll need a full audit. Frank tried to laugh. It came out as a cough. This is overreach. It's arithmetic, Logan replied. Brandon finally spoke. Look, okay, maybe the optics weren't great, but optics, I echoed, tasting the word that had been used to exile me. Every lie you told me had choreography. I watched you rehearse in hotel mirrors. Somewhere behind us, the band stalled. The party shrank to our island of fallout. Madison's mask slipped. Just a second, but enough. There was fear there, animal and bright. Then it hardened. Congratulations, she sneered. You embarrassed yourself in front of people who used to respect you. Correction, I said. I embarrassed myself staying silent. This is me speaking. Sudden event number 19. Emily, saintly, nosy Emily, appeared at my elbow with a small velvet pouch. Found this in your hedges, she whispered. I opened it. A men's watch, the boutique brand from that rogue charge, engraved on the back. BK/make it ours. I turned it so the inscription caught the light. A soft O rippled through the circle. Rachel closed the folder. We'll take this part to court, she said. But for tonight, if anyone had questions about paranoia versus pattern, I think we're done. I looked at Madison, and the ache finally changed shape. Not smaller exactly, but honest. I saw what she was. Someone who mistook cruelty for power and attention for love. Someone who thought I would always be the quiet wallet at the edge of the frame. I wasn't quiet anymore. Enjoy the party, I said, stepping back. It's the last one on my tab. The morning after the party, the air in my house felt cleaner, like someone had cracked open a window in a stale room. Madison's car was gone from the driveway, her closet noticeably emptier. She hadn't left a note, just silence, the kind that people use as both weapon and retreat. Rachel called at 8 o'clock sharp. They've already tried to contest the financial restraining order, she said. Judge didn't budge. We've got your assets locked tight. Good, I said. Let them sweat. She paused. You did well last night. Kept it clean. Investors don't forget a public gutting like that. You may have hurt her more in 10 minutes than you could in 10 years of arguments. I didn't answer right away. I wasn't sure if that was a victory or just a different kind of loss. Sudden event number 20. My phone buzzed with a voicemail from Frank. His tone was low, controlled, but the cracks were there. Jake, I'll admit, things got mishandled. For the sake of the company, I'd like to discuss a settlement outside of court. Call me. Translation, damage control. He wasn't worried about me. He was worried about the audit Logan had just promised. I forwarded the message to Rachel. We'll respond in writing, she said. On our terms. By midday, I decided to retrieve some things from the safe deposit box at my bank. Inside were documents Madison didn't even know existed, proof of premarital assets, copies of all wire transfers to her family's company, and, most important, the original loan agreement Frank had signed when I bailed them out. His signature, his promises, his liability. All dated, all enforceable. Sudden event number 21. While I was at the bank, I got a text from an unknown number. Meet me at Blue Finch at 6. No tricks. I owe you the truth. Brandon. Part of me wanted to delete it. But another part, maybe the same part that walked into that investor's party, wanted to hear him admit it out loud. I told Rachel, and she just said, record it. So at 6 p.m., I sat in the corner booth where I'd once seen them together. Tyler brought me water and a look that said, don't flip the table. Brandon walked in alone, no swagger this time. He sat across from me, rubbing his hands. I didn't plan to get involved with her, he started. It just happened. She told me you were checked out, that you'd stopped caring. She made it sound like she was already halfway gone. She was, I said flatly. She just didn't have the guts to leave without a safety net. He nodded, eyes on the table. The hotel charges, that was her idea. Said it could be written off as business expenses. I didn't know she'd put them on your card. I leaned in. And the watch. He froze, then sighed. Her gift. Said it was a symbol. Guess she's good at recycling symbols. I slid my phone across the table, the recorder running. Say it again. About the charges. And about her telling you I was out of the picture. He did. I saved the file and stood up. Thanks for your cooperation. He tried a weak smile. No hard feelings? None, I said. Because I don't feel anything for either of you anymore. When I got home, I sat at the kitchen table with the evidence spread out like a final exam. Bank statements, hotel receipts, the second phone, the watch with the engraving, Brandon's recorded confession, and underneath it all, the loan agreement with Frank's name in black ink. For the first time in weeks, my chest didn't feel like it was carrying sandbags. The betrayal was still there, but it was framed now, contained. It wasn't a fog anymore. Before bed, I typed a single sentence into the log Rachel told me to keep. Today, the lies stopped being my problem. And I meant it, because walking away with your self-respect intact isn't just an ending. It's the kind of beginning they'll never see coming.